Jai Hind learners, this is the second part of the tourist accommodation unit. So, in this unit we are going to discuss about what are the various principal considerations for establishing an accommodation, and we shall also take up a case study of establishing a tourist accommodation. Now, coming to the point of some important and principal considerations, as has been already pointed out in the introduction, the business of promoting tourist accommodation is a very complex affair, which requires the tourism professional to be aware of several factors at once. The various factors include: number 1, the host guest culture relations; number 2, the ecological and environmental considerations; and number 3, the leisure activity. Given the above, the best way to consider the factors that are involved in any assessment of tourist accommodation is to pretend as if you are building a tourist oriented hotel and look at the main commercial aspects of this exercise while taking into account factors such as those mentioned above. This involves asking the correct questions at the time of building the accommodation and by extension also when you are promoting it. It should be understood that the terms we have used to discuss the main considerations in tourist accommodation like marketing, operations, financials, etc., do not pertain to the actual running of the hotel or resort. This is a very specialized and detailed task. So, it is important and pertinent right from the time of conceiving the idea of building up the tourist accommodation. All these aspects should be taken into consideration. Rather, the terms in our context have to do with attempting to give you a comprehensive understanding of what is needed in a hotel or resort that functions well in the current tourism scenario. Coming to the point of marketing, someone once defined marketing quite briefly as knowing what the customer wants. So, most important thing in marketing of your accommodation is knowing or having the knowledge about the customer needs. So, if you fulfill the needs, then you are into good marketing of your property. Simply as this may sound, it assumes a clear understanding of the complexity of the tourist needs and most importantly, the ability of your organization to deliver what is promised. Thus, like in the case of any other product, it is critical that there is substantial marketing input at the product planning stages of tourist accommodation, precisely because of the complexity of the tourist behavior and needs. The tourist behavior and their needs may have a seasonal impression. They may keep on changing with the change in the seasons. They may keep on changing with the change in the tourist destination. They may keep on changing in the changing scenario of the environment around the destination, the political and legal scenario around the destination. So, it is very, very complex to understand the tourist behavior and their needs. In addition to the above, in today's world of tourism, it is not just whether you have the right customer, the right location, the right package and the right price. The tourism professional is also required to take into consideration whether the particular accommodation being promoted is ecologically and environmentally sound or not. Because in today's world, a lot of tourists are very enlightened tourists. They would like to stay in a place which is ecologically, environmentally friendly, does not hamper the environment around, does not hamper the ecology around. So, just by having the right customer, the right location, the right package and the right price is not going to work if it is not ecologically or environmentally sound. We will enter into a discussion of this with a case study which we are going to have very soon. But for the moment, it should be mentioned that ecological and environmental correctness, while important for any segment of tourist accommodations, becomes more important where its impact is increased. And the impact increases, it should be pointed out whenever the location is remote or exotic. The same would apply for host-guest cultural relations. By definition, a place that is remote or exotic is the ultimate tourist destination. We cannot kill the exoticness of the particular destination by way of promoting too much of tourist accommodation. For example, in remote Havelock Island of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It's a unique culture out there. It's a unique exotic location away from the hustle bustle, very remotely connected. So, if we have too much of tourist accommodation over there, it is going to hamper the environment of the local island. Quite logically, what the customer wants is determined by who the customer is, and it would not be wrong to say that more the customer tends to spend, the more aware he or she is of the services and at times the social concerns as well. Therefore, as a rough barometer, it would be accurate to say that more a customer is willing to pay, the more questions he or she is apt to ask. These could be about the precautions being taken by you to minimize the social and ecological damage caused by their activities or related to having all luxury without any concerns. For example, I have been discussing about Havelock Island and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. A person who is willing to pay 25,000 rupees for a night stay may have a question to the resort in Havelock: how do you dispose your garbage? Now, wherever there is a lot of tourists, there is bound to have a lot of garbage. Now, in a remote island which is surrounded by water or by all sides, a tourist may ask a question: how do you dispose of the garbage that the tourism creates? So, we have to keep in all these things in mind. Having all luxury without any concern may not be the apt way to deal with the customer. Tourism professionals thus should therefore make this an integral part of their marketing strategy to convincingly answer the queries in addition to other commercial consideration. The further considerations apart from marketing are operational. Now, for operational part, we have already made some passing mention on several aspects of the operations of a tourist accommodation. It would be helpful to briefly summarize these by way of a review and then discuss some other organizational and operational features of such organizations like food and beverage, which is popularly known as F&B. This of course is a feature of any hospitality industry product. You cannot imagine a tourist accommodation without proper facilities of food and beverages. However, in case of tourist hotels and resorts, the F&B departments needs to be considerably more flexible. At times, for example, the tourist may wish not to have lunch in the resort, but take a picnic lunch instead. So, in such stances, it is important that this is anticipated and the quality of service is enhanced. Similarly, eating habits of people on holiday tend to be different than that of business executives. Business executives may have an early flight to catch, so they will not stay back at the hotel and wait for the breakfast. So, they may order a cold breakfast, for which the F&B department of the hotel or the resort should be aptly prepared with. To prepare a cold breakfast, package it in a way that it is appealing and it is of use to the business traveler or any other traveler who orders for it. Then the other important consideration are the activities. Now, all our discussions so far have implied that tourist is activity oriented. Thus, tourist accommodation needs to be properly equipped to suit the needs of the anticipated clientele. It should be noted that very often a tourist resort, a tented camp or hotel has a director of activities. This spells out the importance of this role along with the time for entertainment. People in today's world simply do not come to stay in the hotel room or gorge upon the food. They also want their time to be properly utilized in such activities which they do not do on a daily basis in their routine life. So, hotel should also become an activity center, especially for resorts where people go and stay for a short duration of period. They want a life away from the daily hustle bustle of the city, and hence they want their time to be utilized by practicing various activities which are on offer. And hence it becomes very important for people to have good activities, good appealing activities, especially at the hotels and the resorts. Now coming to the another aspect, that is housekeeping. Again, this is a department that is common to all categories of the hospitality industry, but there is, in instance of the smaller properties and resorts, an element of uncertainty that the professional must be prepared to cope with and not adopt a very hard and fast rule. Bigger the property, bigger is the housekeeping department and more professionalized department. Smaller the property, smaller will be the housekeeping, maybe just 1 or 2 people who may end up doing all the housekeeping work themselves. So we have to, as tourism professionals, be prepared for the uncertainty that it causes, and we should be prepared to cope up and not adopt a very fast rule. We have to be a bit flexible. Like I gave you an example of Havelock Island. So you don't expect a very professional housekeeping in say a homestay accommodation over there, or a small hotel that has just 10 rooms. So you don't expect a very professional housekeeping department for a small hotel of 10 rooms. An example of one such is when a camp with only 20 rooms is full and you are confronted with 3 or 4 extra guests as part of a larger group. In such an instance, the manager is called upon to be more of a host than a manager in the conventional sense of that word. In fact, the management of smaller resorts and hotels need to be versatile. This flexibility might be the motto of a good resort when it comes to its operations. Managers, people in the management may also end up doing the housekeeping activities at times if there is a requirement. Now, there is an important question: who uses these tourist accommodations? So, let us discuss about them. There are different kinds of tourists. Therefore, it stands to reason that a tourist resort must cater to each category of tourist. It will, of course, be impossible for us to discuss each of the myriads of the categories of tourists individually at this time. You must have read, you must have heard, you must have studied about the various categories of tourists in a separate video, in a separate unit of block 1. It is important to understand that different types of tourists use different types of tourist accommodations depending upon their preferences, their choices, their needs, their wants, their behavior, and of course their budget. However, let us look at the broad categories of tourists in the organized sector of the market and see how each would be different and how they are handled by a particular tourist resort or hotel. Let us begin by first identifying the various categories of tourists who use a tourist resort. So, the various categories of tourists who use a tourist resort or a hotel are the FIT. FIT is the category of tourists who make their own customized itineraries with the help of a tour operator or travel agent. They travel either alone or in groups of up to 6 individuals. These customers often wish to be given personalized treatment. Along these lines, they are more demanding as they often design their itinerary as they go along and do not wish to be handed a package that is difficult or expensive to change. The second category is of the group inclusive travelers, or popularly known as the GITs. The GIT, the tourists in this category often purchase a package tour and can range from 10 to over 100 in number on the same tour package. On the average hour, they would number 30 or so passengers, although that too depends on the destination and the product at offer. Now, how to get information? Most important we have been talking about is that how to get information. So, it is necessary for a tourism professional to obtain necessary information about accommodation available at a destination. But how do we get it? Well, it is not difficult thing today. The most informative sources is the Hotel and Restaurants Guides published every year by the Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Associations of India, popularly known as FHRAI in India. But in this world of internet, It is hardly that we see any published thing. Most of the tourists go in for the various OTAs, OTMs, or companies like Trivago, TripAdvisor and so on, who give you the ratings of the hotels, of the restaurant, various services offered by the hotels and resorts, live given by the guests staying at these places. So, it helps you out in getting the ratings. With the ratings of the already stayed guests over there, you can make up your mind, and you can also get all the information that you seek as a tourist. Coming back to what FHRI publish, it contains information regarding different types of hotels, the tariffs, the availability of rooms, the various categories of rooms, the address, the telephone number and other facilities available. Similarly, all promotion brochures of tourism departments list the types of accommodation available at a destination. All you have to do is to walk into a tourism department office to get it, or log in into their website. Nowadays, in this era of internet, hardly people go into the tourism department office. You don't need to actually go there. Simply on your mobile, you can log in into the department's website and you get all the information. Often you read advertisements in the newspapers, the magazines given by hotels, and these also can keep you updated. Besides, most of the big hotels carry their own promotional campaigns. You should also keep information about the retiring room facilities at railway stations, as many tourists use them for temporary stays, particularly those who are always on the move. Another aspect is to get advance booking done for the individual or the group, or else the tourist may land up in difficulties. For example, in December 1993, the Goa Tourism Department was issuing press releases to the effect that those who don't have a booking in advance must not come to Goa, because during that period of time in December 1993, Goa had shortage of tourist accommodation. There were more people going to Goa than it could actually accommodate. Now, coming to a case study, we will discuss about a proposal for a camp resort. Now, let us as a case study mention an accommodation proposal for your benefit. It is important to remember that Ladakh as a destination is popular among well-traveled customers who are keen to visit any off the beaten track destination. In other words, they have traveled to many other parts of the world and have chosen Ladakh for its exotic value. Another market segment that can be identified in Ladakh is that of the backpacker, whose itinerary is not predetermined and whose spending power is limited. The promoters of the project under review intends to target the well-traveled, discerning client. So, the promoter of this property do not want the backpackers. They do not have backpackers in their mind while they are trying to project this camp accommodation. It is planned that our primary market will be the individual traveler and some select groups. It is intended that the project will consist of 20 huts built along traditional Ladakhi style of architecture. The rooms will be approximately 15 feet by 15 feet in size and 9 feet in height. The huts will be placed in an unobtrusive manner, each hut having a substantial view from its windows and the veranda areas. Because we should remember that people go to Ladakh for the beautiful views the valley offers surrounded with the mountains. The interior of the hut will be fully modernized and contain a minimum of 2 twin beds, 2 rugs, 2 bedside tables, a dressing table, 2 bedside lamps and a closet to hang the clothes. The bathrooms will have a sink, a shower and a bathtub along with the tall racks. Now, central to the camp resort will be a Gol Ghar, which will serve as a central dining hut and activities area. The Gol Ghar will consist of 3 general areas, that is a central dining room with a fireplace, because it's a cold place, a recreational area where groups can lounge, they can play games or attend a lecture if there is one, and a reading room area which will house a selection of books to go with the local culture, their cuisine and so on. The public area will be decorated with rare Ladakh and Tibetan artifacts. In this way, the property will have some unique facilities that are thus far not available in Ladakh. Part of the inventory of this property will also be slide projector, an LCD projector and a screen which will assist in the lectures and talks that the management of the property wish to actualize through invitations to guest speakers and performers. This way they will try to put in all the important advanced audio visual aids, so that if there is a small seminar sort of thing, a small conference sort of thing, a small lecture sort of thing, that can also be made available to the guests who are coming to stay there. The ancillary facilities will consist of a kitchen, a pantry area, a storage area, an office room and of course, the staff quarters. The property will also grow its own vegetables and should it prove to be profitable, also start a small poultry farm. In this way, it is intended that the project be fully self-sufficient and cater for its immediate needs of its own, and this way the property also intends to invite guests, to attract guests who believe more in the concept of organics. Right? Organic is a buzzword in today's world. So, we are trying to move away from the pesticide grown things, and for fooding we can have organic foods. So, this campsite envisages to have its own farmhouse where they can grow their own required vegetables and anything that the tourist wants to eat. We can also have an activity this way wherein tourists can pluck in their own vegetables, maybe have a cooking session as an activity, a local Ladakhi cuisine session with a expert chef of Ladakhi cuisine. This way they will have better sense of what the local culture and local cuisine is all about. You will appreciate that the proposal has been made keeping in view the specific local style, etc. Now, similar proposals can be made by all of you for different areas. You can try having a case study for a place, the place to which you belong to. You can try and make a case study of developing a sort of tourist accommodation at your place of residence. Now, after studying about this small case study of making a tourist accommodation in exotic location of Ladakh, let us now discuss in brief about the scenario of hotel industry in India. Now, the Indian hospitality industry has emerged as one of the key industries driving the growth of the services sector and thereby the Indian economy. According to IBEF, the tourism and hospitality sector's direct contribution to GDP surged by 23.6% in the year 2017. Now, raising the share of the industry direct and indirect was rupees 5.9 trillion. That makes it to US dollars 91.3 billion, which is a huge amount of money. Also, tourism in India accounts for 9.4% of the GDP and is the third largest foreign exchange earner for the country and is ranked 7th in terms of tourism total contribution to GDP in the year 2017. At the close of 2018, the country saw macroeconomic stability owing to a decline in inflation, current account deficit, etc. We expect the major markets in the industry to sustain the average room rates, that is known as the ARRs, going forward and grow at an average of 3.5 to 4.5% per annum. Also, we expect the occupancy to inch up to an average of about 68 to 70% by the end of the financial year 2023, compared with 66.6% in the financial year 2018. So, accordingly, the hotel industry is expected to see an increase in room revenue at the rate of around 10 to 12% compounded annual growth rate over the coming 5 years. Average length of stay, if we talk of the average length of stay, the demand for hotel rooms in business destinations is unusually concentrated around weekdays. That is, the occupancy rates are generally lower on the weekends. The average length of stay, that is ALOS, for business hotels is usually in the range of 2 to 2.5 nights with the low levels or double occupancy, that is fewer occasions where more than one person shares a room. While the hotels in leisure destinations, the ORs are higher during the weekends and have ALOS of around 2 to 3 days. The occurrence of double occupancy is also typically higher in leisure destinations than as compared to the business destinations. Coming up to the existing inventory of hotel accommodation in India, the upscale segment of the hotel industry in India is highly organized and concentrated in a few key cities. The total number of keys, that means the rooms, in the top 11 key cities covered by the care ratings is estimated at 92,537 as at the end of the financial year 2018. Of this, about 53% of the room inventory is concentrated in Mumbai, Delhi NCR and Bangalore alone. The existing room supply for the country grew by 7.5% year on year in the financial year 2018, totaling to 1,28,163 rooms as of 31st March 2018. This considers the 8,944 new rooms that entered various markets during the year, as well as an expansion of the existing properties. Now I'll just tell you about some of the top brands in hotel industry in India: domestic hotels, international brands as well as domestic brands. We have brands like Bharat Hotels Limited, we have Accor International, we have EIH Limited, we have Swiss Hotels, Hotels and Resorts, then Hotel Leela Venture Limited, Four Seasons Hotels Incorporation, Taj Hotels and Palaces and Resorts, Safaris, Intercontinental, ITC Limited, Best Western Hotel, Leela Leisure Limited, Hyatt Group of Hotels, Pride Group of Hotels, Carlson, Redizor, etc. We also have hotel chains like Park Hotels, Bergruin Hotels, Lemon Tree Hotels, Hilton Hotels, Server Hotels and Resorts, then Windham Hotels Limited, Royal Orchid Hotels, Choice Hotels, Concept Hospitality, Marriott International, Starwood Hotels and Resorts. All these international brands are very much present in India and see India as a big market, upcoming market for increasing the tourist accommodation, seeing the growth that India has projected, has seen in the last 10 years and is projected for the coming 10 years. The future supply landscape is ever changing and is subject to several external forces that may often delay project openings. It is noteworthy that the pipeline for proposed supply totaled 1,14,466 rooms back in the financial year 08, the highest in a decade. Whereas in the financial year 18, it contracted significantly to 49,380 rooms. That means a lot of hotel rooms in lakhs have come up in the last 10 years or so. Considering the performance of major markets in India, we have this is the data that I am telling you regarding the 11 top cities that house the tourist accommodation in India. The overall average occupancy rate, that is ORs, increased by about 180 basis points year on year during financial year 18 in 11 major cities of India. Occupancy rates increased from 64.8% in financial year 17 to 66.6% in the financial year 2018 on back of an increased demand from domestic and foreign travelers for business and leisure activities. However, the average room rates increased by only about 1.6% during the same period to rupees 5,759 per day due to stiff competition faced by players in the market. This increase in ORs and ARRs led to the all India RevPAR performance of major markets to record a growth of about 4.4% over the preceding fiscal and reach rupees 3837 revenue per day in financial year 2018. This rate was last achieved in the year financial year 2011. Coming to occupancy rates. Occupancy rates for 5-star hotels witnessed the sharpest growth of about 240 basis points year on year during financial year 2018. This was followed by 3-star hotels that registered a growth of about 200 basis points and 4-star hotels that registered a growth of around 180 basis points during the financial year 2018. with the 5-star deluxe hotels witnessed lower growth of only 110 basis points year on year. 2-star hotels, however, witnessed a decline of about 10 basis points in their occupancy rates during the year. Average room rates. Despite registering a decline in occupancy rates, 2-star hotels witnessed the maximum growth in the group in average room rates, increasing by about 8.5% year on year during financial year 18. This was followed by 3-star hotels that registered a growth of about 5% year on year in the financial year 2018. 4-star and 5-star deluxe hotels recorded a growth of 3% year on year each in average room rates. 5-star hotels, however, registered the lowest growth of about 1.8% year on year in the group during this year. This may be attributed to the gradual escalation of commercial activity in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, as well as increased domestic travel. So, let us sum up. After studying about tourism accommodation 1 and 2, it should now be clear to you that under no circumstances tourist accommodation is a simplistic exercise. Whether you are involved in building it or in promoting it, it is in some ways a more complex issue to address. Understanding the existing market and the nature of tourist demand is most essential. Ecological, environmental and social consideration also should be important determinants in this exercise. The knowledge of different types of accommodation, the specific characteristics of each category of accommodation along with the information of booking should always be on the fingertips of a tourist professional. As far as operations of such a property are concerned, one needs to judge and juggle efficiency with varied demands and cater to customers who have paid a large variety in their tariffs depending on whether they have travelled as a group or as an individual. Thank you so much. Jai Hind. Happy learning.